include the MySRBN. Currently, around 194 site has been already completed. 250 or above. About that is the target. 45,000 homes with at least 30 Mbps internet speed with MySRBN is targeted. And this is a wireless solution for the internet connectivity. Other than that is the SMA Saluran, the 300 tower is another part of the rural and rural connectivity, the initiative under the rural connectivity. So in the last 2 to 3 years, with all these figures, with all initiatives, and looking at the challenges that the communities are facing, we start in our lab, we start exploring and looking a fresh view on the current challenges of rural broadband connectivity. We will look at very thoroughly on the newspaper reports for like a whole year, starting from mid of 2020 until mid of 2021. We also start connected. We had discussion with MCMC. We organized forum with where we included MCMC as well as SDI, and we got a participation from MCMC. We also engage with our international partners, which include Association for Progressive Communication, and then it's also include University of Alberta from Canada, who has a very strong program of digital connectivity and digital inclusion with the First Nation of Canada. We also engaged with APNIC, which is one of the main driver of internet or regulator of the internet in this region, in Asia Pacific. And then we actually categorize the challenges that we are facing in Malaysia in 3 classes. We call it like, one of them is the demand side challenges, the other one is the policy side challenges, and the third one is the supply side challenges. The demand side challenges are those challenges which actually the consumer or the user are expecting at the last end of the internet line, and it includes the digital literacy program beyond use. So a lot of our consumer our user actually know how to use technologies, but then beyond using of technology, and what I mean beyond use of technology, I will talk more about it in the next few slides. That is one of the lacking point for that. For example, consumer right, internet as a utility or internet as a human right. What is the difference in between as a consumer of internet facilities? If I am purchasing some internet services for myself, what are my rights, what I'm getting, and how I ensure or where I should go to get the internet package or internet speed for which actually I have paid, I have been charged. Other than that is consumer side, is also demand side, is also the monitoring of quality of services. The tools and method of reporting is one of the big challenge actually. This is really on those rural locations where there is only one way or one source of communication. If that one source of communication is down, they don't have any other mechanism to report. And even if they report, a study has been conducted in 2021 by Nuryanti, and she mentioned about, especially in Sarawak, that 60% of the respondent mentioned that they actually reported the challenge that they are facing with internet, but there is no response to that. So that is another component on the demand side. The second one is the policy side challenges. On the policy side challenges, monitoring of QoS is one of them. If you look at it, MCMC as a regulator monitor the quality of standard of internet service in the country. The QoS standard has been prescribed, suggested by ITU, International Telecommunication Union, but MCMC as a regulator of within the country, they monitor the QoS standard. But then the challenge is another component. that it's not really clear that what do we really mean from the internet speed. Internet speed is dependent on many different factors, which include upload and download speed also. So even if you have a very good download speed, but if your upload speed is not to the minimum threshold, the user will face problem in e-learning, in doing any transaction. So that is one another component. In Sarawak, so MCMC is publishing the QoS report each quarterly, like quarterly. But then for Sarawak, from 2020 onward, the report has Sarawak is not included in the report, and the reason is due to the pandemic situation. The team may be not able to come down to Sarawak and test the quality of service of mobile companies in Sarawak. Other than that, is the definition of terminologies, and terminologies is one of another big problem. So for example, when Jadela mentioned that 4G internet connectivity in populated area, what really populated area means, and what is the criteria of populated area in Sarawak in comparison to West Malaysia. So with our discussion where we talked with SDI and other partners, we got some idea, but it's not really official. I'm not sure that, for example, in Sarawak, the population is considered 40 people a person per square kilometer, and MCMC is considering it 80% per square kilometer, but it's not really clear that what really populated area means. So if we are targeting 4G internet connectivity until end of the year, which area are included in that? Then the third one is the supply side challenges. And these are all the challenges that actually the telcos are facing, or the telecommunication services providers are facing. So one of them is, for example, the mechanism from, so currently, for example, many of the rural areas are dependent on Jendela and MySRBN, where the internet service is provided, but then for the first few months that is free, or Jendela for the 2 year Jendela is free, but what's going to happen next with that? And how the movement from free subscription towards a paid subscription is going to happen in our limited study of two sides. Actually, we found it that the community are not yet clear that they know that after from March they are going to be charged for them for some of the services, but they're not yet clear that how they are going to do the payment, to whom they're going to do the payment. And then the second one under the supply side challenges is that, for example, community managed network is another component where the community can also come up with their own and manage their own resources, network resources, internet resources. We found it in the mid of 2021 that there is a class license available for that if the community want to manage their own network or develop their own network. And we have applied for that one class license last month, yes. And we are currently negotiating with MCMC if we can get the first community network class license for here a community in Sarawak, where actually we work together with community, where the community can establish their own community network and they can run their own community network. I will talk more about it later on. So these are the challenges that actually we have explored. If I quickly go through with these all. On the policy side, lack of policy is one of the part. The other one is the lack of diverse and inclusive approaches like community networks, and inconsistent terminologies is another one. On supply side, empirical evidence is one of them. There's not really studies has been done that what is happening with the solution, with the services which is provided, and how impactful that is, how meaningful that are. Then the use cases is another one. For example, if I have only one way of communication from my village, and if that is down, how I'm going to report to let the others, to let the telco or to let the person know, whoever is responsible, and if he know what is going to happen with my case. Then the demand side challenges in unclear monitoring mechanism, whether community can monitor it, and how they're going to monitor it. Are there any digital tools available? Consumer knowledge and capacity is another component where actually they really don't understand what they are buying, and if they're not understanding, sometimes their expectation are really unrealistic, and sometimes their expectations are realistic, but they are not met. So with this all background, actually, we start looking at it, and we start coming up with our own program, that how we are going to settle or how we are going to address those challenges with our partnership with other international collaborators and local. So one of the part is on the policy side. So that is where we start working on identifying the gaps in policy and programs, and then also to come up some decision support system which can help the decision maker to see that what is the current status of internet in the localities which they want to focus. So that the policy side also include the impact study and analytical grid of that different policies, digital inclusion policies in Sarawak. The second one is on the access, which include the establishing model of community network and use cases, and also to do the study on digital connectivity and meaningful connectivity, status of meaningful connectivity in rural Sarawak. In terms of the content, the literacy program and consumer to integrate the consumer laws and regulation in the digital connectivity program and digital literacy program for the local community members based on the rights-based approach. And the last one is to design POS monitoring and reporting tool, to design digital tools which can actually help to monitor the user experience on the ground. And then also to understand the administrative digital infrastructure, where the infrastructure is available and what is the status of that. So here is our first part on the policy side. Our postdoctoral fellow, Dr. Ghazala, is working on currently with the help of MCMC and APNIC. MCMC has given us an access to 4 of their Pusat internet sites, and to ask us to report that what are the impacts in the community. On the other side, APNIC is interested actually to create an analytical grid of digital policy in Malaysia, and specifically in Sarawak, if they are existing, and then also to do the impact study on the 50 site instead of 4 sites. We are still open for more partnership and opportunities of collaboration, which include the knowledge partnership. If anyone has any question in mind, please share with us your question as a user or a consumer regarding policy, so we can take it to the next stage and explore more those questions. And then we are also very much interested to initiate a policy dialogue which include the internet as a human right, or internet as a utility or quality of service. We are already have in a plan these things, the policy dialogue. I will discuss it later on. So that was our first study that we have done. The second study, the second initiative that we came up with is actually developing a community network in the first community network here in Malaysia. Gary Loh Chiwai is a PhD fellow and also my colleague here in UTS. He is working very closely with Bawang Asan community to establish the first community network, which includes the combination of training of the community to better understand, and then the community to plan the digital infrastructure, how it should be placed, where it should be placed. So they are part of that. And yes, we have a partnership from Association for Progressive Communication, who is one of the promoter of community networks in all over the world. And for your information, community networks is also promoted by ITU and suggested to the governments. In 2014 policy document that government should open legalization policy space to establish more community networks on the ground. And there are so many examples of community networks in the world, which include like Kenya, Nigeria, where even the community network also have an access to USF funding, and they can apply for USF funding. So we want to establish this community network with the support of local community and international partner. Once it is established, how to sustain it as a long term with the community cooperative is another part. So this community cooperative currently applied for a license for first community network in Bawangasan. And then, of course, the business plan is another part. But even if the community cannot sustain it with the business plan, another support is the US, could be a USF funding, where many countries have opened their space for USF for community network to access community networks. Yes, and then in terms of opportunity for collaboration, we are still open. If there is any telecommunication company representatives here, we are looking for the backhauls. If we got the backhauls on the ground to train the community, to provide the local equipments to the community, and to establish community network, we can support that part. But we also want to have a policy dialogue on community network and licensing spectrum sharing in Malaysia. In the next 2 months, actually, that will happen. And on top of that, the design and development of tool and training program will be that. If you can see also here some of the figure, like the download and upload speed. One of the download speed is with the MyRSPN with the upload 1.7, but the other one is with our own community network, which is 27.7. Why the upload speed is very important, I will also mention that one. Yeah, so this community network is much more based on actually a right-based approach, where the community have their own right to manage their own resources, instead of focusing on where we as a researcher look at that, or we as a practitioner look at that what community needs. So that is the main component. The third initiative is with the digital inclusion and literacy program. If we look at MySRBN initiatives, it is very clearly mentioned that what are the steps, and as a consumer, what knowledge they would like to promote in local community, which also include that whether I'm in a coverage area, how much I have to pay, how much data I can use, those are all. So we are looking currently with and we are with support of University of Alberta, who was very closely connected with the First Nation of Canada, facing the same challenges, to actually develop the local community capacity so they can better understand some concept of quality of services. Service, and then they can also see how they can monitor the quality of service to provide them support on monitoring quality of service, and then also reporting on top of that. So we are currently working with the 2 communities on the training program under that, but we are still have more opportunities, and we are open for knowledge partnership with any of the PUSAT internet program or digital connectivity center, DCC centers in Sarawak. Yeah, this is another very interesting one. The last initiative that actually we are working on, which is the quality of service monitoring and reporting tool for user experience. So currently we have some tools, like we have maps, for example. Currently, we have the Jindela map, where actually anyone can go and check the current service in their locality. But the challenge is that it doesn't show the user experience. It shows the provider's commitment. So we are coming up with this user experience map, where actually user can go and test the internet service in their locality. And this map is would be also accessible to the other user, and very specifically to the policymakers, that they can check or they can see that what is the user experience on the ground, what they are facing. So with Jindela map currently, within our very recent visit to some of the location in Miri and the Nia area, this is one of the code that the community members said, that it looks like everybody in my neighborhood has 4G except my mobile phone. So this is another component. The very important one is then very specifically like the QoS monitoring, which MCMC is doing with the help of the local telcos. if the situation or like pandemic happened, they couldn't come, and the Sarawak is not represented in the QoS reporting. So the other way is that if we have the map where actually the user can upload their own status and the other people can see what the user are experiencing on the ground, the upload and download speed, that will be much interesting. So with these all experiences and the studies that I shared, I would conclude with 4 more points that actually what we are really thinking that we are missing in Sarawak. First of part is the local technical human resource. Deployment is nice. Currently, it's very nicely happening. Jandela is reaching to the very remote area, as well as my SRBN is reaching to the very remote area. But the challenge will be the next one: how to sustain these networks. If even the community really needs some basic and fundamental knowledge of internet connectivity. So tomorrow, if their internet is not working due to any reason, they can handle the small challenges. So the quality of human resource as well as the skill and knowledge at the rural area is very much important. And there is another part also with that. For example, what I mentioned now with QoS monitoring, MCMC usually call for public inquiry, that the consumer inquiry, what they are facing, what challenges they are facing, and they are open for policy input. But the local community or a cooperative or the local association really don't have capacity to provide policy input. So that is another component where actually we need to really train the local community members, cooperatives, which can provide policy input in public inquiry wherever this policy forums happens. The second one is also very important, focus on innovation, then replication. Currently, we found it that we are so much in replication part. For example, we have a Kampung Wi-Fi, Tampa Wire before. Currently, we have my SRBN. But Sarawak is really unique in Malaysia in terms of the challenges, and it also has unique challenges due to the low density as well as the landscape. So we look at it that we really need to look for more innovative solution instead of just following whatever is in the other Malaysia, whatever solution has provided in the other part of Malaysia. I'm just giving you one of the important aspect here, that, for example, under the Jandela, the report that I shared with you, based on the lab report, it is mentioned that the wireless technology is one of the good solutions for the low density area, population density area. However, in QoS for fixed FBB, for fixed broadband line, it actually QoS count or QoS measure the upload and download both speeds. But for wireless, QoS only measures the download speed, not the upload speed. So what's what is going to happen with that? If our upload speed is not to the minimum standard, and for example, if we look at it with the dedicated line, 3 to 4 Mbps at least for a Zoom or for a G Talk, we need 3 to 4 Mbps upload speed. When we look at the community, for example, in Bawangasan and other area with my SRBN, the speed is currently like less than 2 Mbps. While the download speed is quite good, the upload speed is only less than 2 Mbps. It means that if the QoS doesn't measure the upload speed of wireless technologies or wireless broadband connection, the problem will be still there. Only the download speed is not really telling us that how good internet the local user in the rural area is experiencing. So just by adding this quality in the quality of service, the upload speed can also make some good impact actually. The third one is the quality of user experience. As a part of the design process is very much important when we are actually deploying or promoting technologies or giving access to many rural communities, we also need to look at that their quality of services should be also integrated in that. So for example, what I just mentioned, that just internet speed or just broadband speed is not really telling us that what the user will experience, unless that we really go in detail of upload, download, and latency. These all indicator as part of to specify in the design part of our solution. So that is another. And the last one, which really combining everything together. And thanks for our Vice Chancellor yesterday. I had a quick discussion with him to get his input, because he has worked a lot in this area in Sarawak, especially for the last 20 years to promote digital connectivity. So he also mentioned about the strategy and policy on sustainability. So deployment is one part, but then how from availability, we can also think about it, that how these networks going to be sustained in those locations. If we don't have enough trained human resource on the ground, if the local community really don't know how to manage their own resource. And then the second one is, of course, from service quantity towards service quality. Service quality, to make service quality also part of the strategy and policy component. The last one, that yes, as I mentioned about the policy dialogue, that we are going more towards policy dialogue, to have policy dialogue in Sarawak to talk about these issues and these challenges. So you can join us in the Malaysia Participatory Design Conference, which will happen on 19th of August. And we will have a policy dialogue on community networks in Malaysia and Cebu. Thank you very much. And now I think we can open the floor for questions.
Thank you, Tarek, for the presentation.
Or even not question, even just to talk about it, because I may not have many answers, but I can share the pains and the gains of everyone.
Yes, thank you again, Dr. Tarek. So now we will open for comments or questions and discussions from all the participants. So I don't see any questions being posed in the chat. So is there anybody, any takers who wants to discuss or be the first one to ask or comment? Anyone?
Yes. Hi, my name is Oliver Gomez. I'm from DNB, Digital National Berhad. Professor, I do have a quick question, if I can just follow up on something you mentioned a little earlier. You mentioned how fixed broadband, in terms of QoS metrics, it does measure upload and download speeds, but for wireless, it only measures download speeds. When you say wireless, you are referring to mobile broadband. Were you referring to mobile broadband or satellite? It was mobile, right?
Currently, actually, that's another part of the terminologies which are used in different policy documents, and even in the QoS reports are not standard. Sometimes it is used really mobile broadband, and sometimes it is used like a wireless broadband.
In your, if I could, I understand you're a bit limited, but if you had to sort of be a bit more specific, when you say wireless only measures download speeds, what are you referring to exactly? Was it mobile broadband or wireless in a?
What I'm just referring to the QoS reports which they are talking about, and that's talking about the wireless technology, wireless broadband. So if I really be frank with you on this one, that we are really struggling with that, but there is nothing about the upload speed wherever there's the word for mobile broadband or wireless. The challenge is that we really don't know yet that whether it is not reported or it is not part of the QoS. We don't know yet at that side, but then in the report, it is not included.
I understand. If I can just ask one more quick question, Professor, this has to do with the user-derived map information for the user QoS mapping. Could you just maybe elaborate a little bit more on how on that process by which the user experience will sort of eventually be available on a certain map, on a certain QoS map. And where do you envisage that sitting as its own map, or being overlaid on, say, the Jendela map that already exists? Could you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Okay, so this is a totally local initiative, and it's actually happening in many countries. If MLab has, in University of Washington, has developed a framework for that, where actually the users can, the community can have their own map, and the First Nation of the Canada, they have also came up with that map. So I can share with you that link. It will not be part of the Jendela map. We don't have an access to that. To that sources. It is a totally local initiative that we will have our own website and our own tool, where actually the user on the ground, they can test their speed, but it will not be only testing their speed. The figure will be also actually put on or accessible by the other user or whoever have access to that map. So currently the speed test that we are doing with the TM, it is just a single user test speed. And once we test it, actually we don't have any access, the other user don't have any access to that. And they cannot see that what is the user experience at that locality. Like currently what I mentioned, for example, I'm just gonna share once again my screen. Okay, let me share. So currently, if you look at this Jendela map here, it is just showing me the whole area where there is a 4G internet access by either of the telecommunication company. The other side, the asset map which I mentioned, there are the 3 different locations where the user have tested, and I can check what is the download and upload speed on these locations.
I understand. Thank you very much, Professor. You did mention that this was this user-derived QoS mapping is already being done somewhere in a particular location. I didn't catch the location you mentioned.
If you go to the MLab, let me also, we have time, I think, so we can go along the way. Yes, so if you can go to the MLab test, you can go to many of the information there. I'm going to share the link here with you.
Oh, thank you. That'd be fantastic. I think that's all I have on my end. Thank you, sir.
Please have check that one. Yeah, I'll just share with you on the.
Thank you, Oliver.
You can quickly Google it and you can find it there.
So any others?
I have a question. Lilia here.
Okay, see, yes.
Yeah. You mentioned the community network license that you're applying for at the moment. What do you think are the chances of getting that license approved? Because it's going to be the first in Malaysia. And also, this is working together with the Bawang Asan community. Is it on a county or cooperative, or is it just certain individuals in the village? Thank you.
So I can hear. I heard your second question, but what was the first one? Rosalind, can you please?
The first one is on the chances of getting the license approved, because it's going to be the first in Malaysia for community managed network.
Yeah, it's not yet approved, but we have submitted the application for that, Lilia. So this is interestingly, that's why normally these forums are very important and nice, that where we share the ideas. So we had a session last year in one of our conference where we also invited MCMC representative from Sarawak there, Mr. Adiman, and we shared about the community network. And he said, and we were just looking for some answer that whether we can establish it. And he said that, yes, there is a license mechanism available, which actually we can target, or we can go for that. And that license agreement, he mentioned that it's under the class license. And then we further explored it. So class licenses are available for different type of, you can easily Google it. There is a nice document, guiding document there. And we have applied with the Bawang Asan community. So the Bawang Asan community has this tourism cooperative where the local community have the homestay association. And with their help, actually, we have applied for that license. Currently, MCMC is currently evaluating the license terms and condition as well as our application. And we will have another meeting on 20th of this month, actually, to further explore with them. Maybe they need some more information.
Okay, thank you. I would like to discuss this further with you later on. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you, Madam Sim. Anybody else? Any comments maybe from SMA, if I may pick up? Okay. Zero into SMA. Any comments on SMA? I think, Tariq, while waiting for the others, is it possible for you also, because you mentioned there are a few success stories worldwide regarding community networks. Is it possible for you to share in shorts of how these case studies elsewhere?
Just let me show you. Just give me, when you're talking, I just need to go quickly to my repository for that now. Okay. Okay, so if I go through very quick with you, let me share my screen. There are many resources available on this one. Actually, if you can quickly go to internet, you can easily find it. This is the telecommunication ITU recommendation in 2014 about community networks. And then ITU study report. This is another report which is talking about community networks are important of connectivity ecosystem, and they help bridge the digital divide. And there is a website, policy.communitynetworks.group, which is actually really archiving all these resources. ITU has one of the symposium, and there's also very much mention about the community network in Asia, Internet Society, and UNESCO has this one session, one summit for that in 2021. Kenya, the licenses agreement and the things which are happening for the community network. Brazil, Mexico, Argentina. Yes, and the European Union, how these community network, the license and the processes are happening. Yes, so this is another one in Latin America, 17 community operators, 80 localities, which is happening. And EPC is really promoting community networks in Africa also. Argentina gave an access under the USF funding to community networks for 3 million USD, from 3,000 until 100,000 of USD community network can apply for that. Yeah, so there are many examples of that. Canada, UK, Papua New Guinea, they're all actually promoting community network in these locations. Yeah, because one of the big challenge, actually, this is some sort of not a very new concept. If you look at the rural energy projects, rural energies projects are facing a lot of issues from the before that, actually. And then there are community organizations who are managing their own resources to sustain and run the rural energy projects. And somehow, if you look at here also, that the internet is another resource for the community, and they need to sustain, especially with the Sarawak remote and rural areas where it's not easy to access those communities. So even, with the technical challenges, if a small thing happens, if the adapter is not working, if the plug is not, the connector is not somehow not fitting well there, the whole internet in the village or in that house will be not able to access for the next until that the next person goes there. But how the next person will go there, it's another story to report it and to get the person. I'm sure this is all experiencing in urban areas. So now imagine about the rural areas.
Yeah, I think all the Sarawakians who have been to rural areas, well, I think they really have experienced this one way or another. And those who have relatives still living in rural areas as well, I think they really can connect with these issues facing all the communities still. So any other questions? We still have a few minutes to go.
I have
So,
another question.
yeah.
Sorry, you mentioned, the first point you mentioned, and in relation to what you just said as well, in terms of what are we missing and the need to train local human resource, to take care of very simple technical issues that may happen. Looking at the location of, our villages in the rural areas, how far do you think we can move enough, to actually get our people ready, for this? Are there any thoughts on what kind of strategies we can actually take to help the state government to move, faster in that direction?
Lilia, if I better understand your question, your question is that, for example, to train the human resource, specifically looking at the Sarawak current status, like in terms of the remoteness of the local community, how far it is possible to have.
How fast enough can we move? Are there strategies that could actually help us to move fast enough to assist
How
our
fast?
local
How fast?
rural community?
How fast can we move?
Okay, how fast we can train the local community
Yes,
members?
in terms of strategies, yes.
Okay, yeah, means I'm not sure. The first question will be always depend on some other factors. For example, if there is, it also depends on the resources. It also depends on the plan. It also depends on the technology. But what I can really see that we can learn from, especially from the energy, rural energy projects example very well. If I can quote it here. For example, Pakos Trust is working in Sabah and they have a program on micro hydro, but they also have an academy to train the local community member how to sustain a micro hydro. So what I mean is that if it is a part of the plan, then of course it need to be worked out. But then if we don't make it part of the plan, the challenge is, for my understanding, that to sustain this network will be one of the big challenge, or it will be a miracle actually that it work for long term, and even for like not long term, even for a few years.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any others? I believe these topics it's not easy.
Very well that what we are facing through. Yeah, no, I can understand it.
Oh. All right. I think if there's no other comments or questions from the participants, may I now invite everyone to take a group photos to end the sessions. Maybe can you turn on your cameras? For those who are not able to turn on your cameras, it's fine. Just give us a few minutes to take group photos with everyone. Keep smiling if you are still with us.
Just keep on smiling. Few more seconds. Keep on smiling. All right.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your support and your cooperations. Before we end the talk, I would like to inform that we have two upcoming activities, namely the AEC 2022 webinar on Education 4.0, where we will feature 3 speakers to discuss about these important topics on 28th of April. And the third brown bag talk, which will be on Smart Cities Development Initiative in Sarawak on 18 May. So with that, thank you very much to Dr. Tariq once again and to all the participants for your participations. We hope to see you in our next event. Take care and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Roslyn.